Hello fellow travelers, my name's SG and welcome back to the channel. Today, I know I'm a little early for the week, but I wanted to do a quick review on the newest Blue Beetle movie. I just saw it and I had to get my 2 cents out there. So please bear with me. Our usual week will still be going on. Monday will be a poem and we'll see what we can do on Wednesday. So hope you enjoy this first time reviewing a newer movie. And let's get started. First, let's start with the main characters of the story. Zolo Marduena is a really good fit for the Blue Beetle character. I know in the comics the character is more in his teens, but with going with a more mature, more barely out slash still kind of in college, it fits the character, and he really brought an energy to it that matches the Jaime Reyes of the animated series, or of any really series that we have seen Blue Beetle in the past few years. So, he actually did really well and portrayed the characters very two-tone to the characters. He portrayed the characters to the T, is what I should say. He managed to portray the character to a T, almost perfectly. Not perfect, too perfectly, no. He managed to portray the characters to a T almost, and I feel he will do good as we progress to another movie perhaps, and we'll see some growth and some more interactions with the rest of the cast. Jenny Cord, along with a lot of the other minor characters like Milagro Reyes, the sister, along with George Lopez and them, they managed to keep the story going. They weren't too off. There is no reference to them in the book, so their place in the story was okay. I can't really say that it was unique, nor can I really say that it was bad. I would say that it was okay at best. They did follow a pattern, and it was good to say. George Lopez's character was fine. He was good as the comic relief more than anything. They were believable as the characters they portrayed. They were fine. They were very active, very animated. They made it feel like you were actually watching a story from a comic play out. So there was really no issue with the way the characters were portrayed, though I could see why somebody would have issues with some of them. Some of them felt a little two-dimensional. Nothing really more went into their story. But overall, there was nothing really negative about their performance that I could pick up anyway. I enjoyed it. I thought all the performances were spot on for what they were trying to portray. I know in comic book movies nowadays, CGI is a lot, but for a film like Blue Beetle, it was necessary because Blue Beetle requires a lot of advantages in technology. He's very close to what Green Lantern is. In fact, in comics, he is the prototype to Green Lantern, so he would need to have some leeway to be able to stretch the boundaries of what we know. I think they did very well with that. I think that it was believable. They didn't do too much, but yet they didn't do too little. You could tell that the suit, though I know it was a little more on the goofier side, it did have a practical aspect to it. I remember seeing in set photos, they actually had him wearing a full-on outfit for the movie. It's just the eyes need to be CGI, along with a lot of the weaponry. The weaponry itself was very well done. You could see blaster cannons looking very detailed. You could see the stable gun aspect looking very good. Overall, the CGI looked good, I would have to say, because we've all seen bad CGI. We know that for a fact. We've seen movies that have completely terrible CGI. And I cannot say that this was a movie that had terrible CGI. This is one that had it really good, really defined, and was where it needed to be. It wasn't over-exaggerating anywhere else that didn't need to be over-exaggerated. I think it was on point and stayed to the themes of the movie overall. Now, quick spoilers ahead. I'm still learning how to do this whole reviewing of new movies and things that most people can't see right away. So this is going to be full of spoilers, and I feel that I need to explain a lot of this stuff here. So you have been warned, and I hope you still stick around to see to the end of the video. Alright, let's continue. The story itself is a typical origin story for any superhero, really. Now, I know the word cookie cutter for it has been going around for this movie, but we all have to realize there's been like 30 different superhero movies, all with similar backgrounds and stories. So I think that this is just not a victim of poor writing, but a victim of circumstance. Because if you look at this compared to the books and to the shows, it's almost scene for scene, just with slightly differences here and there. But anyway, the story is good. It's solid for the most part. There aren't really many holes in it. There are some interesting takes on different characters we see throughout. The overall story is really that Jaime Reyes comes back from law school at Gotham University. And we know that because of the posters and because throughout the movie he's seen wearing a Gotham U t-shirt or sweater, which is a nice Easter egg. At least you're not fully pointing out Batman or anything like that. And when he gets home, he finds that the family business is closing down and that they're losing their house because of Cord Industries. From there, we see him taking on like minimal jobs like cleaning houses or getting ready for parties, because he's now trying to help his family pay the bills and trying to keep them afloat. And from that job, we meet some of the Cord family, or the last remaining two of the Cord family. We find out rather quickly that there is a rift between Jenna Cord and Victoria Cord over the family business. And from there, we really get the story of the Scarab kicking in. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit to where Jaime Reyes receives the Scarab from Jenna Cord. Like we see in the trailers, that's not really hidden. And how it attaches to him, and it pretty much tests his function by dragging him all over the town or the city, causing a lot of collateral damage that will not appear later on. The main story is mainly about Victoria Cord trying to retrieve the Scarab back from Jaime Reyes by any means necessary, so that she could build her own mechanical super soldiers. Like I said, the story itself is not fantastic, but it is good enough to keep your attention and to act as just a starting point for Jaime Reyes / the Blue Beetle. It really is a movie that you have to see rather than hear about, so I encourage everyone here to go see the movie in itself, because this is just a quick rundown of it. The real scenes between Jaime Reyes and his dad, the fight between our surprise villain and Jaime Reyes are really good. The animations are really well done, and everything, including the story, keeps you on edge and keeps your attention for at least the whole 2 hours and 20 minutes, I believe. The Blue Beetle story is in itself a difficult thing to write and do, because there have been, at least as far as I know, 3 to 4 different incarnations of the story, and each one is relatively the same, and they already broke the mold with it because, like I said before, this is taking place when he's like at least a young adult. In the previous versions, he's always a teenager. And the introduction of the Cord family is different because we don't really see the Ted Cord making an appearance in the storyline for Blue Beetle until like the comics of the Rebirth era. So that in itself is also a new thing. And as far as I know, there's never been like an official like sibling for him or a daughter. So they completely created 2 different characters to push the story along. But I think instead of hurting the story as some would think, this actually ended up helping the story along far better than it would have just been about Jaime Reyes. I think this did help the overarching story and help to put it back on track. Certain things I would have preferred to see, because I could see like certain things mirror different things from the comics and of course the cartoons. But overall, it worked. It flowed really nicely. There were some different things that other superhero movies don't really do. Like, of course, we've seen Iron Man, and we know that he revealed to the world that he's Blue Beetle. But I think this is one of the first times that the family knows right off the bat that the Jaime Reyes is Blue Beetle. Like I said, in Young Justice, we see this. We have the idea that the parents at least know that Jaime is Blue Beetle, but not really anywhere else. It's always been secret as it has been, you know. So to see that turn is pretty interesting. Plus, to have them using equipment from the original or second generation Blue Beetle is pretty funny in and of itself, and adds a new theme to the story. We get a real Uncle Ben vibe with Jaime's dad, but I think this one felt a little bit more tragic, with the idea that even though he has superpowers and even though he can do so much, there was nothing really he could do to help his dad in this situation. That he was powerless in this situation, and it impacted him very roughly, as we see in the movie. I know, like, one thing that, like, I know people will zone in on is between the fight between Jaime Reyes and the main antagonist at the end. Like, why didn't Jaime Reyes, finish off the main villain when the family have been fighting henchmen this entire time? I think people need to remember that in the end, it's the Scarab protecting its host to the very end, because the Scarab works in a sense, like they say earlier, it's going to protect the host no matter what it has to do. And I think at that point in the story, the Scarab stopped him because it had fully merged with him. It had come to an understanding with Jaime and knew that if he did finish off the main antagonist like that, it would destroy him. It wouldn't be the same. So I think that is the idea behind that scene in the movie. And like I said in the beginning, this is a spoiler, so, well, not really a spoiler because we could kind of see that happening. But I think that's what they were. There are so many in jokes and insights that had to be paid attention to. It really does require you to be paying attention during the movie to understand certain smaller aspects. I don't think it matters that much at the end of the day, but I think it's very well thought out, very well placed at that point. The surprise villain really got me because I wasn't expecting it to be Omac. And for some of you who don't know, Omac is always this in and out character throughout the comics and the cartoons and even the Injustice game. You see him in Injustice 2 as just a computer program that grows sentience. But in the older comics, he's someone who becomes a superhero through government manhandling, and basically he was meant to rival Superman, or to be an all-knowing eye in the sky, sentient being, something like that. It's always something different with him, honestly. And to see him come in this story really threw me off, but at the same time made sense, because we are dealing with a sentient robotic scarab. So I think it worked itself out pretty nicely. And in all likelihood, the OMAC system will probably come back because they say in the movie it was just a prototype. So it'll be interesting to see if we continue with this storyline. If not, then it had a good first run. Right, the biggest reference we had to put out there first is the obvious inspiration from the Batman Brave and the Bold series. Because the idea of him having a sibling that is both angry at Ted Kord / resentful towards him comes from the episode Fall of the Blue Beetle, where we meet somebody claiming to be Ted Kord but ends up being his brother, who wants the Scarab for himself so that he could, I believe, either to wear the suit or make an army such as we see in the movie. Even the idea of Jaime Reyes wanting to be in law at Gotham University goes back to, like I said, Batman Brave and the Bold. In the episode Night of the Huntress, we see Jaime Reyes applying to become a student at Gotham U. We see that him working with Ted Kord is actually in the first issue of the Rebirth series for Dead. Is actually in the Rebirth series for Blue Beetle. Of course, one of the bigger changes that was noted was them being located in Palomera City instead of El Paso, Texas. But they kind of retconned that with calling the street they live on El Paso. So take that what you will. For now, I'm just gonna leave it to the ones I know from the show and from the comics. If you want to leave some that I've missed, please leave them in the comment section. I would actually like to really know how many there were and what other ones I would like to make note of later on. So, thank you. Alright, now I want to do something a little different before we have our final thoughts. I would actually like to talk about predictions for like either the next movie or what's next to come. Because after the end credit scene with Ted Kord coming back alive, I have a few thoughts about where that can go actually. Now, with the idea that he's alive in probably another dimension, it could be that we are taking the idea that he is taking place of Maxwell Lord from the Wonder Woman 86 movie, I believe it was, and that we are and that he is trapped in a middle dimension somewhere outside of time where he is looking for help on escaping, like in the Final Crisis storyline, because that was a heavily influential move for Blue Beetle, because that's the one where ultimately he dies from being betrayed by Maxwell Lord, which leads into the Final Crisis storyline, or Infinity Crisis storyline, sorry. Which leads into the Infinity Crisis storyline. That's one take on that. Another one came because I thought the name of the town was interesting. It sounded a lot like Palmer, so we might be seeing like him and Ray Palmer have worked together in the past and may have shrunk themselves down to a molecular level, getting stuck in that phase, kind of like an Ant-Man situation, because the Atom has done that in certain storylines, that he has pretty much disappeared, making way for the next generation of the Atom to come in. So that's another route they could take it. As for my third option, it could be some timeline shenanigans going on with Booster Gold, because we do know that Booster Gold is a main player in the Blue Beetle storyline. Him and Ted Kord were best friends, so to think that they were trying to maybe turn back time or trying to figure out where the Scarab was or what it is, they may have gotten lost in time and are looking for help, and the only way they do that is to connect to their old Blue Beetle cave. I don't know, these are just some theories I came up with while watching the movie, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And now we move on to the Blue Beetle movie is a good movie for an origin story. I think it's a good place to start with for getting us to know the characters for the most part, to understand their reasoning, why they're doing this, and who they are. And maybe that the next set of movies will be more interesting, more character driven. But for right now, this was a really good movie, really funny. It really got to the point, and I believe that it was an excellent start to the Blue Beetle franchise as we know it, because it's nothing too familiar, but at the same time it's very accurate to the books and other source material. While taking its own liberties, it managed to make something very interesting and unique, and played around with the characters that some people might not have heard of or have not paid attention to, such as the OMAC system, the original two Blue Beetles, because they made reference to both of them, and even making the original Blue Beetle cave kind of resemble the original 1966 Batman series, because we don't really have anything to base this on prior other than the cartoons and books, so to try for them to make their own world building off this is really funny and really interesting idea to set up. It's really funny to think that there might have been a Blue Beetle all this time trying to be the hero. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment and like, and please subscribe if you want to more, or if you like the video, I will be coming out with more as we go along. Like I said, I'll be back Monday and Wednesday to do my regular videos. And please comment back if you want to see. Hope you have a nice day, and see you later.